Well, it's September 1st, and Gary here again. Just a quick little update just to let you know what I've been doing here in preparation to get this thing fired up. It just seems like, it's like I keep saying, it's 5 steps forward and 4 steps backward. It's just ridiculous, but we're getting close. I'm going to flip this around and show you what's been happening. There we go. Now, what I've been working on is trying to get all this instrumentation cabling through my engine plate here. It has to come to the inside of the car. This channel here is where all of the whole brain box and ignition and coil and all that kind of stuff gets set onto. There'd be a fuse panel on this side. So I got to bring all these wires through here. There's a 25 pin connector that comes through, and that comes from all this horrendous mess here. That's for the exhaust temperature sensors. They all come through. See if I can get a little better view here. So that connects in behind here to a 25 pin connector. Then I've got a heavier, this is a 7-pin connector for heavier wires like 16, 14 gauge, something like that. Something that might go to the starter solenoid or whatever. Then I've got this one here, which is a 9-pin connector. And it's got a lot smaller wiring on it, 18 gauge, 20 gauge, something like that. Other sensors that are going to have to come through, and these are all quick disconnect aircraft connectors. I got to trim off some of the little bolts here, first of all. So it's super tight, like super tight, to try to get all this stuff in here. The body seals against this channel. And then this channel supports all my electronics and stuff. The grid controller and the Pro 600 ignition system and the coil. Coil goes off on the left-hand side here. So it's tough to get all this stuff in here, and I wanted all this wiring on this side, this side, because the coil's over on that side, and you want to try to keep this stuff separated. Up here I have a pass-through for the coil. It'll be connected up to here on the inside of the car, and then on the outside of the car it comes out here, and it's going to be connected to the distributor. So not a whole lot of room or real estate to play with on this thing. You really got to be careful about where you put the connectors, and you think you got it all right, and then you put it on, you drill your holes, and then it interferes with something. So you got to try and keep it away from the exhaust as much as possible. I've got some kind of heat wrap that I will be putting on those wires to help protect them. But that's what's been going on so far. What do we got going on here? Starting to put the car all back together. But I'm just going slow because this time everything has to be connected up properly, because hopefully this will be the last assembly before the fire up, and hopefully taking it out to the racetrack. So making sure all the bolts are tightened up properly, torqued down properly. Got a little bit of adjustment to do on my throttle plate there. Got to redo that. That's common. I mean, it's the way it goes in these things. It takes like 3 times at least before you get it right. So even after you use patterns and everything else, things change. Super happy with the way the steering bar turned out. That's all removable. It'll make it really easy to pull the engine out. You disconnect that bar, and the engine just, there's 4 bolts here, a couple of clamps, and undo your wiring and all that kind of crap. And the engine and tranny, as a unit, just lifts right out of the frame. So it makes it really super nice. And haven't really done too much with my instrument panel just yet. Got to trim that down a little bit. There's the gauge is going to have to go in there for the exhaust temps for now. I should be able to integrate it into the race pack, but that's going to take a little bit of research and stuff. So for now, I've got a gauge. The gauge is going to go in the paneler. That's that. Been working on some little bit of sponge for the seat. This is just like floor shop sponge. I put about 6 layers in there. You bring it forward about 1.5 inches or so. And because I want to bring myself down and forward a little bit so that it makes it easier to fit inside the cage here. It looks pretty hokey right now. It's just all taped together just for test purposes right now. But it'll be getting wrapped in a fireproof covering. And then it'll be getting Velcroed in to the original cover. We've dropped the seat bar here, and I've put a couple of curves on it, and we've pulled it forward a couple of inches or so, and that's really helped with the seat to try and get in and out of the car. Right now I've just got a scrap piece of aluminum on there just to sort of hold it all in shape and get an idea of how it's all going to work. But I'm going to have to make some patterns and cut up some aluminum, and for this year I think I'm just going to rivet it on there. Then over the winter we can do something more fancy and weld it all in properly to the original seat and work. I got my wrench today for the pinion. So that's right over here. So this goes onto the pinion coupler and holds the pinion coupler, and then you put your socket through it, and then that way you can take off the pinion nut or torque it back down again. So, and it's almost impossible to try and hold it or do anything with it. You can't do this unless you bring it to like a machinist, and he's got to sort of reproduce it. So what happens is one of these couplers that's on the pinion, one's a female, one's a male, and it just slips over here. Oops, where are we going? There we go, like that. And then you can tighten up the pinion nut, torque it all down. So that's awesome. Only cost me like about $250 for a wrench. The 4 posts on the other side here are just for a normal yoke with a universal joint on it. So that'll be super handy. So because that came, I had the rear end in the car here, but this is the 430 rear end. And I want to change that to 411s. So I've got the gear set. You probably can't. It's in a little black plastic box behind there. The whole gear set's there, and there's a spool that has to go in there yet. And I was going to try and put the car together and fire it all up beforehand and then change the rear end. But because I've got the wrench and the brakes haven't been bled yet, and there's no oil in the rear end, I'm going to take the extra time right now to yank it back out again and set up the other rear end and put it in here properly. So that way the car is going to be ready to go, and then I can bleed the brakes and put rear end oil into the rear end, and the car will be, closer to going on the racetrack. I can't go on the racetrack right now with the 430 rear end. I can't do a 1/4 mile. It'll be good enough in the 1/8 mile, be good for the 1/8 mile, but the 411s is what I'm going to need to run the 1/4 mile. With the 430, the engine RPM is going to get too high. I had to relocate the fire lever. It's down here. It was on the other side. It was just getting too busy on the other side there. So worked great there, and I incorporated a little safety pin in it so that when you finish the run, you don't accidentally catch the lever with your foot or some part of your fire suit and then fire off the bottles. Right now the car has, what do they call it? Halon bottles. And you can't refill those, so I don't want to fire them off unless I absolutely have to. Because as soon as I fire them off, I'm going to have to replace them with some other form of fire extinguisher. So, there we go. That's about it for today. Just a little update. We're working closer and closer here to get this thing fired up. I know I've just been saying this over and over again, but it's just, like I say, you go forward and then you go backwards. You think you're getting close, and then all of a sudden something else pops up, and A lot of times you think, oh yeah, that'll only take me like 30 minutes to get that handled. And then 2 days later, you're still doing stuff and trying to make things and locate stuff. And it's just ridiculous. I've been really frustrated. It's just taken me so long to put this thing together. Just disappointing. But whatever, it's coming together and I'm liking what's happening with it. As soon as I get this thing fired up, then I'm going to have to concentrate on the body, get that all buttoned down, all finished up and everything, all the fiberglass work and the tin work. And then the car should be ready to go out to the track. I've got safety gear ordered and it should be coming in about a week or so. It's fire suit, the fire shoes and gloves and helmet and head sock thing and all that stuff is all coming about maybe a week and a half. I've got a phone about seat belts tomorrow, and I'm expecting that to be, I don't know, maybe a week and a half at the most. They can do them up in just a few hours, so it just depends on how backlogged they are and other orders and stuff. So that shouldn't be too bad. And then after that, put all the bits and pieces together, take it out to the racetrack. So it's getting there. But that's about it for today, so stay tuned. We'll catch you next time.